there, I'm Louie, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to crochet a hobgoblin from my new Goblinoid pattern bundle. So for this pattern you're going to need the following materials. We're using all worsted weight yarn in cotton in colors green, white, and brown. You can also have gold and maybe a different shade of brown if you want to add rings and hair, but we're actually not going to be talking about how to add rings, hair, and scars and warts in this video. I have a separate video for that, which I'll talk about later when we get to that part. Yeah, and because I'm using all worsted weight yarn, I'm using a size G crochet hook, 4mm. You also need a pair of scissors, a darning needle, and some stuffing. You can also use some pipe cleaners in the arms if you want to make them shapeable and shape in a specific way, which I'll talk about when we get to sewing on the arms. Alright, well, to get started, let's start with our lip here, which is pretty easy. So for the lip, we're using our green yarn here, and you want the tail end actually to be pretty long. Like, let's go like that long. There we go. And all you have to do for the lip is chain 15. That's it. It's pretty easy. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. So, see, just 15 chains. Try to make them a little bit equal so they're not too different of chains, whether they be tighter or looser. Okay, and you want to add just a little bit extra. This is going to be for sewing onto the face. And take your scissors and cut it. And then pull all the way through. There we go. All right, we're going to sew this onto the face when we're a little bit further along in our body. All right, next up I'm going to be showing you how to crochet the teeth, and I actually have 2 different size teeth for this character. So first let me show you how to crochet the smaller teeth. You don't need too long of a tail end here. This might be a little bit of too much, but that's okay. You're going to make a slip knot. And for the smaller teeth, we're just going to chain 2. 1 and 2, and now we're going to turn the chains over. Let me get really close here, and you see that back loop there? We want to get our crochet hook into that back loop, and like that. You might need to use your fingernails for that, and we're going to pull that end just a little bit tighter, and that's going to create kind of a point, and we're just going to do a single crochet into this back loop. Okay, so you can kind of see. There you go. Now we'll just cut the yarn, chain 1, and just pull it all the way through. And then you can pull that end a little tighter. Okay, and we'll just take these 2 ends and we'll sew it onto the lip once we have the lip sewn on. Now let me show you how to make the longer teeth. So for a little bit larger tooth, we're going to make a slip knot. Same kind of thing as last time, but this time we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to start in the second chain from the hook, and we're going to do the back loop again. Get our crochet hook into that second chain from the hook. We're going to do a single crochet into the first one, right there. So kind of like the same as the last one, so you can see we got a little point. And now into the next one right here, we want to do a half double crochet. So we're going to yarn over, then go into that back loop. Okay, and now finish that up, pull it through. Okay, so you can see it's kind of like a curved tooth. And now we can cut the end, and the same thing as last time, we're going to chain 1 and just pull it all the way through. And we'll sew this onto another side of the lip. So now we have 2 different teeth. Alright, so next up is going to be the arms. Now the arms have something special about them. I use a special stitch called the spiked bobble, which I'll be showing you how to do. The arms and the legs are probably the most complicated for this entire pattern, so make sure to take this part really slow and steady. Alright, so I'm going to start with a magic loop. You can also use the chain 2 method. We're going to get our crochet hook under there and just pull one through, like so. Okay. Now we're going to do 6 single crochets into the magic loop or into the second chain from the hook. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and one more right here, 6. Okay, we're going to pull this magic loop a little tighter. Okay, and then pull that little tail end. There we go. All right, so that's going to be the end of round 1 for the hands. For round 2, we're going to start with a really weird stitch that I call the spiked bobble. So the first thing to know is that we're working in the round, meaning that we don't need to turn. We're just going to work into the same stitches from round 1. So we're going to count back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to find our first one, which is right there. Okay, so that's going to be where we're going to put our first stitch. And our very first stitch is a spiked bobble. Now, spiked bobbles are very tricky. So I'm going to take it very slowly. It's kind of like a mini picot mixed with a mini bobble stitch. So we're going to yarn over and insert our hook into the stitch right here. There we go. Okay, now I want to work around this tail just to hide it in for the first stitch here. Now, once we're into the stitch, we want to yarn over again. Here's our end. Yarn over and pull that through the loop. There we go. And now we want to yarn over a third time and pull through 2 loops on the hook. Okay, we're going to call this a double crochet repeat. So right there, because it's almost like you're going to do a double crochet. If you yarned over and pulled through 2 more, it'd be a double crochet. So that first half is called a double crochet repeat. Now we want to repeat that repeat one more time. So we're going to yarn over, go into the same stitch, yarn over again, pull a loop through, then yarn over a third time and pull through 2 loops on the hook. Okay, there you go. You should have 3 loops on the hook now. Now we want to make a thing called a mini picot without pulling our crochet hook out of here. So for a mini picot, we're going to yarn over and chain 2. Okay, so 1 and 2. That second one we want to kind of pull a little bit tighter. Now, you got to look closely here. Here's our second chain from the hook right there. We want to turn to the back end of that second chain, and you can see that little back loop right there. We want to take our crochet hook. Oops. This is the tough part. You want to take your crochet hook and get it into that back loop. Okay, there you go. See, it's in that back loop of the first chain that we made. And now we want to yarn over and pull through that loop and the second loop right there. Okay, and that's going to create a little point. See? All right. Now to finish this up, we want to do one more double crochet repeat into the same stitch. So we're going to yarn over, go into the same stitch, yarn over and pull 1 through, then yarn over a third time and pull through 2 loops on the hook. Okay, now you should have 4 loops on the hook right there. To finish this up, we're going to yarn over and pull through all those loops. Okay, and that is called, I call it a spiked bobble. It makes like a very spiky finger kind of thing. Okay, so that is the spiked bobble. We're going to be doing 4 of those. So there's our first one. Okay, so next stitch that we're going to do is we're going to do a single crochet into the same stitch that we did the spiked bobble into. So we're going to go into that same stitch. The best way to do it is just like follow the bottom right here and just kind of like jam your crochet hook in there. And just do a single crochet. We're going to pull everything tighter. There we go. Okay. Here we go. So that's our first 2 stitches. We want a spiked bobble and a single crochet into the same stitch. Now we want to repeat that 3 times. Okay, so let's do it again. We're going to do another spiked bobble. I'm going to go a little bit quicker, but I'll still talk my way through it. We're going to yarn over, go into the next stitch, yarn over again, and pull a loop through. Then yarn over a third time and pull through 2 on the hook to do our double crochet repeat. Okay, let's do that one more time. Yarn over, into the stitch, pull a loop through, yarn over, pull a loop through 2. Now is our tough part. We want to do that mini picot. We're going to chain 2, 1 and 2. Go into the back loop of the first chain that you made right here. Use your nail to get under that back loop. And we're going to do a slip stitch. Okay. There we go. And then we want one more double crochet repeat. So we yarn over, go into the stitch, pull one through, yarn over, and pull through two. Finish the spike bobble up by yarning over and pulling through all the loops on the hook. All right, there we go. And now we'll do another single crochet into that same stitch to finish up that repeat. There we go. We want one more of those repeats. Let's do it one more time in the next stitch. Yarn over, in, yarn over, pull through two. I'm doing my spike bobble now. There's our first double crochet repeat. There's our second double crochet repeat. Then we're going to chain two, go into that back loop of the first one that we made, yarn over, and pull through, whoop, two. There we go. Now finish up doing one more double crochet repeat, then yarning over and pulling through all the loops on the hook. Okay, now we want to just do another single crochet into that same stitch. There we go. You can see how our fingers now. These are three fingers. See? Okay. In the next stitch, after we did those three repeats with the spike bobbles, we want to do an increase into the next one right here. Just two single crochets. And then one more of those spike bobble repeats. Okay, so we did our increase and then one more spike bobble repeat right here. So we're going to do our two double crochet repeats. One, two, then chain two for our, then we're going to go into the back loop of the first one we made, yarn over, slip stitch, then yarn over and do a last double crochet repeat. Oh, and then we'll yarn over and pull through all the loops there. Okay, and we'll do another single crochet into that same stitch. Okay, and into our very last stitch right here, we want to do one more increase. Just two single crochets. Okay, so that is the hardest round of, I think, this entire pattern. That round is insanely difficult, so it might take you a few tries to get. But you can see how we got a little hand here. Look at that. Doesn't that look cool? All right, so that's going to be the end of round 2. You should have 12 stitches around for the end of round 2. For round 3, we're just going to be doing 8 single crochets. Okay, so we're just going to do 8 single crochets around. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's our 8th. And now we're going to do an invisible decrease. So we're going to go into the front loops of the next 2 stitches. If you don't know how to do an invisible decrease, you're going to go into the front loops. So here's our first stitch, here's our second stitch. You can see those V's right there. We just want to go into the front loops, the ones closest to us. For that front loop, and whoop, that front loop. There we go. And now do a single crochet into those 2 front loops. And this is going to pull it in. Okay, so there's our first invisible decrease. Now one more invisible decrease right here into the 2 front loops. Front loop, and then do a single crochet into those. Okay. So again, for round 3, that's 8 single crochets and then 2 invisible decreases. You can really see how the hand's kind of coming together now. All right. For round 4, we're just going to be doing a single crochet into each stitch around. There should be 10 stitches, so just do a single crochet into each stitch around. A nice break of just simple single crochets. 10 single crochets. These hands are insanely complicated, but they really do come out very cool. I remember I came up with with these hands one night. I was trying to go to bed and I had an idea, and I got out of bed. It was like 3 or 4 in the morning, and I just crocheted them, and I was like, oh my gosh, these are so cool. And I've been doing them the exact same way ever since. That was like, I don't know, like 1.5 years ago that I came up with that. All right, there we go. Let's get our hands going on there. Okay, That's the end of round 4. For round 5, we're going to do 8 single crochets. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, one more right here, 8. Okay, now in these next 2 stitches, we want to work into the front loop only, just like how we were doing those invisible decreases. We only want to work in the front loops only, but we want to do increases on the next 2 stitches. So we're going to go into those front loops only, just like that, okay? And we want to do an increase. So just 2 single crochets into that front loop. 1, 2, and we're going to do it again into this next stitch. Front loop only, 2 increases. I mean 1 increase, 1 and 2 single crochets. There we go. That's going to be the end of round 5. For round 6, we're going to do 2 single crochets. Okay. 1, 2, and then we're going to do an invisible decrease, 2 invisible decreases. So we're going to go into the front loops, 1 and 2. Okay, do a single crochet into those 2 front loops. There's 1 invisible decrease. Let's do another one. Front loops, 1, 2. Okay, and there's our second invisible decrease. Okay, so that's 2 single crochets, 2 invisible decreases, and now we're going to do 6 more single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there's our 6th. Okay, see our hands coming apart. There we go. So we're kind of making, you can see it's kind of like going like in and then out right there. We're making like kind of like a doop doop. There we go. All right. So for our final round for these hands, round 7, we are going to do 2 single crochets. 1, 2, and then we're going to do 2 invisible decreases. Same thing as last time. We're just going to do 2 invisible decreases here. There's 1. There's 2. Okay. Now we're going to do 2 more single crochets. 1, 2, and to finish this hand up, I'm just kind of stretching the hand out a little bit so I can, get it in the right position. To finish this up, we're going to do a slip stitch into this next stitch right here. Just do a slip stitch. Okay. And we're going to cut the yarn. We're stopping a little bit early for this round. We're going to cut the yarn, leaving enough to sew it onto the body. And we're just going to pull that all the way through. And we're going to sew this onto the body. You want to make 2 of these arms. So make 2 of them. And they're the exact same pattern for both arms. You can see, here we go. We got our little hands there. Okay. Next up, let's do the feet. The feet are very, very similar to the hand. So I'm going to kind of go a little bit quicker for the feet. Okay. So I guess I'm calling them legs. So for the legs, we're going to do the same kind of thing. It's a magic loop. And we're going to do 6 single crochets into the center of the magic loop or into the chain 2 method if you're using that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then we're just going to pull that tighter. Okay. Now that's the end of round 1 for the feet. Now, or legs, sorry. For round 2, it's pretty much the exact same thing as the arms for round 2, except for we're only doing 3 spiked bobble instead of 4. So for our first stitch right here, we want it to be that spiked bobble again. So we're going to go ahead and yarn over. We're going to go into that stitch, pull loop through, do our double crochet repeats. There's 1, and there's 2. Then we're going to do our mini picot by chaining 2. 1, 2. I'm going to find that back loop, get our crochet hook in there. You can see I've done a lot of these fingers by how fast I can do these spiked bobbles now. They are crazy difficult, but I've done probably, I don't know, I've done like 50 to 100 of them probably now, and it gets a lot easier. We're going to do our last double crochet repeat, and then yarn over and pull through all 4 of these loops. Finish up that spiked bobble. Okay. Okay, so we did our spiked bobble. Now we need a single crochet into the same stitch. Okay. And we're going to repeat that 2 more times. Okay, we need 2 more toes. So we're going to do another spiked bobble. Okay. Then our mini picot. Spiked bobbles are tough. They're definitely one of the most difficult stitches I've ever come up with. But dang, do they look cool. They are a pretty fun stitch. Okay, and then we're going to do another single crochet. Okay, so we got 2 of our spiked bobbles. Let's do 1 more. Okay, and then we need our mini picot. Oops. There we go. This is the hardest part because you gotta everything's connected, so you don't have too much mobility with your crochet hook, which makes it really difficult to get into that next one there. If I had more mobility, it might be easier. Also, if you are doing it with a little bit bigger of yarn, that might make your life a little bit easier as well. Okay, and then we'll do 1 more single crochet into that same one. Okay, and that is how we're going to do the toes. Okay, now for the rest of round 2 for the feet here, we just want to do 3 increases. See, so we're skipping our last spiked bobble. Normally we'd be doing a spiked bobble right here, but instead we're just doing an increase. Okay, that's the big difference here in the feet. Okay, for round 3 of the legs, I keep calling them feet. For round 3, we're going to do 8 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then we're going to do our 2 invisible decreases by going into these front loops. There's 1 invisible decrease and 2. Okay. Now you should have 10 stitches around. You can see how it's kind of making a heel for a foot here. See? All right. So for round 4, we're just going to be doing a single crochet into each stitch around. That's 10 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1 more right here. It's going to be, whoop, there we go, 10. All right. Okay, so that's going to be the end of round 4. For round 5, we're doing 8 single crochets. And you can see how these are very similar to the hands. We're doing 8 single crochets here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and there we go. There's 8. And now we're going to work into the front loops only of the next 2 stitches and do our increases, just like the arms. So we're going to do just in these front loops right here. Okay, we're going to do an increase. 1, 2, and then one more right here. Okay, so we're doing 2 increases in the front loops only for the last 2 stitches. There we go. All right, and that's going to be the end of round 5. For round 6, we're doing 2 single crochets. 1, 2, and now we're doing 2 invisible decreases. So we're going to front loops. 1, okay, one more right here. 2 invisible decreases. There we go. Okay. Now we're going to do 2 single crochets. 1 and 2. And to finish up these legs, we're just going to do a slip stitch into the next stitch right here. And we're stopping a few stitches early. We're going to cut the yarn, leaving long enough to sew it onto the body. And we're just going to pull that all the way through. Okay. And there we go. Now we have our legs. You can see that was kind of making it like the calf. And the legs are smaller than the feet. And they're just going to be sticking out like that. 1 and 2. So you want to make 2 of these legs just like you made 2 of the arms. Unless you want to have a one-legged guy, which totally is an option, actually. That'd be kind of fun. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and make another pair of the legs and arms. And I'll be back in just a bit. All right, and the last thing that we want to make before we get to our body is we want to make some noses and ears. And the noses and ears are actually the exact same pattern for both the nose and the ears. So we're going to start with our magic loop method, just like this. Okay, we're using our green yarn again. And this time we just want to single crochet 3 into the magic loop. Okay, so 1, 2, and 3. And then we want to tighten it up. Okay. That's going to be the end of round 1 for the noses / ears. For round 2, we're going to find our first one we made. So 1, 2, 3. It's going to be right here, okay? And we want to work into the back loop only. Okay, so just the one furthest away from us, right there. Okay, boom. And we want to do an increase into that stitch. 1 and 2. Okay, now into the next 2 stitches we want to work into both loops and just do a single crochet. Oopsies. One. And really quick, this little technique I'm doing is after I'm done with the stitch, I pull the loop out. Because this is so tiny, it's hard to get into each of the stitches. So I pull the loop out to give me some more mobility with my hand. And then I get into the next stitch. This is our last single crochet here. We're working to both loops. And we're going to pull a loop through. And then once you pull that loop through, you pull everything tighter, and it'll pull that last loop a little tighter. It'll help out a little bit. All right. That's going to be the end of round 2. You can see it's going to make a very point. See how I made that little point? Okay. And you should have 4 stitches now around. For round 3, we're working in both loops now for the rest of this, the noses and ears. we're doing a single crochet into the first stitch. Okay, just a single crochet. And then we're going to do an increase into the next. Okay. And then, let's see, there's our increase. And we're going to repeat that one more time. So let's do it again. We're going to do another single crochet into the next stitch. And then an increase. Okay. That's going to be the end of round 3. You're going to see now that you should have 6 stitches around. See how it's kind of creating our little ear. All right. For round 4, we're just going to do a single crochet into each stitch around. That's just going to be 6 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. That's going to be the end of round 4. For round 5, we're going to be doing 2 single crochets. 1, 2, and then an increase. Okay, 3 and 4. And then you want to repeat that one more time. So we're going to do 2 single crochets again. 1, 2, and then another increase. 3 and oopsies. 4. Okay, so now you should have 8 stitches around. See how we're getting our little ear here. You can see the ears are going to be pinched in half like that, and the nose is going to be like this in the front. Okay. Now for our last round for our noses and ears, we're just going to be doing a single crochet into each stitch around. So that's just 8 single crochets. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and one more right here is going to be 8. Okay. And to finish them up, we're going to do a slip stitch into the next stitch right here. We're going to cut the yarn. You want a long enough end so you can sew it onto the face. That's probably long enough. And you can just pull it all the way through. And there you go. Again, so the ears are going to be folded in half like that and sewn on to the side like so. And then for the nose, it's going to not be folded in half. It's going to be stuffed like that. Yeah, so you want to make 3 of these. Okay. Okay, so now that I have all of the pieces on, let's get started on the body. And I'm going to start with the same kind of thing as I was doing before, a magic loop method, and you can use the chain 2 if you feel more comfortable with it. Now for round 1, we're just going to be doing 6 single crochets into the second chain from the hook or into the magic loop. The body is relatively simple. We don't have to do any fancy bobble stitches or spiked bobbles or anything like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And we'll just pull this a little bit tighter. The only tricky bits I find for the body is sewing on the face and whatnot. All right. For round 2, we're just going to be working an increase into each stitch around. So we're just going to go into that first stitch there. And we'll make an increase, meaning 2 single crochets in each stitch. And that's going to bring you up from 6 stitches to 12 stitches around. So you should have 12 stitches by the end of round 2. Okay. And I was working around this tail for a little bit just to hide it in. We can actually cut that tail end after this round. Make it a little bit easier to work with. Okay. There you go. Just cut that tail on. So you don't need it no more. All right. For round 3, we're going to be doing a single crochet into the first stitch and then an increase into the next stitch. Okay. And you'll repeat that process 6 times total, 1 single crochet and then an increase 6 times around. And that's going to bring you up from 12 stitches to 18 stitches. Okay, halfway through. And this is kind of how the majority of this body works. There's just increases in specific parts. Once we get to the right size, we add a little bit of a belly and yeah. Okay. Oh, one more repeat here. Oh wait, no, that's the, yep, that's the last one. Okay. For round 4, we're going to be doing 2 single crochets, so 1 and 2, and then our increase, 3 and a 4. And you're going to repeat that process 6 times total. Okay, so 2 single crochets, 1, 2, and 3, 4. That's our second repeat. And this is going to bring you up from 18 stitches to 24 stitches. So by the end of this round, you should have 24 stitches around. All right. Put that to the side. Okay, and here's our last repeat. Okay. All right. So that's going to be the end of round 4. For round 5, we're going to be increasing yet again, but we're not going to be doing it 6 times. We're only going to do it 3 times. So first we're going to do 7 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and here's our 7th, and then do our increase, 8 and a 9, and you're going to repeat that 3 times total. So let's do another 7 single crochets for our second repeat. Okay, 7, and then our repeat, or our increase, 8 and 9. Okay, so one more repeat of that. And by the end of this round, you should have 27 stitches around. Okay. And that should be the end of round 5. For round 6, we're going to be doing increasing one more time. So we're going to do 8 single crochets this time instead of 7. Okay, 4, 7, 8, and then an increase, 9 and 10. And we'll repeat that 8 single crochets and then an increase 3 times total, which will bring you up from 27 stitches to 30 stitches around. So by the end of this round, you should have 30 stitches around. Okay, we're just going to do one more repeat here. And we're going to float around 30 stitches for a few rounds. Okay. Here's our last repeat. There we go. And that's going to be the end of round 6. So for round 7 through 10, that's 4 rounds total, 7, 8, 9, and 10. 4 rounds, we're just going to be doing single crochets into each stitch. And each round should have 30 stitches around. So we're going to do 4 rounds of 30 stitches around, 30 single crochets. Okay, and that's going to be the end of round 10 in our rounds of single crochets. Okay, so now we want to just add on our face. We want to take a break from crocheting for just a second and add on our face. The first thing I like to do when I add on my face is I like to put on the eyes, and I have a very specific place that I place the eyes. So first off, I'm using these little clip-on safety bead eyes, and I believe these are 8mm around. Yeah, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn it upside down, and I'm gonna find my my first increase in round 6. So I'm gonna go down. It's gonna be right there. That's our first increase in round 6. See, the way I did that is I just looked over and I looked down to where the increase was. It's right here. And we're going to go to the stitch to the right of that. Okay, so not the increase right there, but the stitch to the right of that. Take our little eye, and I place my eye into that stitch right there. Okay, that's where my first one goes. And now I go over and I follow that round until I find the next increase right there. Find the stitch to the right of that and place the other eye in that stitch. Okay. Okay, and you can see he's got they're just like a little bit far apart, but not too far apart. That's where I like placing my eyes, and I'll just go ahead and lock those in with these little plastic locking mechanism things. And everything else kind of follows the follows where the eyes are. So next up, we can sew on the bottom lip. So let's go ahead and grab our lip and grab our darning needle here. And you can see there's 2 ends of these lips. We want to take our long end here, thread it on a needle. There you go. And I'm going to take this guy so we can have some reference. Here's where our eye is, and we want to go down. Let's see, we're going to go 2 rounds under where the eye is. So we take our eye and we go down 1, 2 rounds right there. Okay, we'll place it right into that side, and I'm going to pull it pretty much all the way through, and then come out through the next stitch right here. And you see we'll have a little loop on the bottom here. Keep that loop. Keep that loop right there. We want to pull this knot. And see how I just barely pulled that knot through? That's what you want. And then you want to go down. As we go through, you want to go up through the next chain on the thing. So right here. Okay, so here's our knot. Let me pull the knot back out. Okay, so there's our knot. We want to go through our first chain right here. Go up. And now we can pull our knot through. Okay, so make sure that knot is on this side. And now we can pull that other stitch up. There we go. And we'll go down through the next chain. So here's the next one. And we'll go down through the next stitch. So here's where we came out. We want to go down through this stitch and come out through the next one. And we're going to keep doing that all the way across. So we come out through this stitch, pull it somewhat tight, but not too tight. And we're going to come up through the next chain right there. a little tighter. Go down through the next chain right here, and then the next stitch right there, and then up through the next stitch. Okay, so I'm just going to keep doing that to sew the lip on. Okay, so where's our next one? There's where we went down. I'm going to go through this next stitch. And then down through the next, or chain rather, down through the next stitch, and then up through the next stitch. Okay. You can see you want to pull it tight, but not, you don't want to go crazy with it. So up through the next chain, down through the chain, stitch, stitch. Chain, chain, then down through stitch, stitch. There we go. You can see we're getting kind of like a little froggy kind of face going on, which is perfect. And you are welcome to make this as long as you like. The great thing is you can stop this lip early if you want them to have like a tiny little lip. So go chain, chain. There we go. Stitch. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go down through this last stitch because it's right under the eye. Just going to go right down through that stitch. And you can see we have 2 chains left over. I could come up and then down through that last one, but I want this knot to be through the piece. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to thread the other end on. There we go. And go down through the next stitch on our lip right here. I'm just going to go down through that one and just pull that knot all the way through. Okay, you can see a lot of that chain's coming through, but that's okay. And then we're just going to double knot these 2 ends on the inside. There we go. And cut these 2 ends. And we have our bottom lip sewn on. I like tweaking it down so that it's kind of like more like out. Okay, so now let's sew on our teeth. Depends on which side you want which tooth on. You could have a little one on this side or a little one on that side, doesn't really matter. But let's sew on the little tooth first. You're going to take both of these ends. Save this this long piece of green yarn too, by the way, if you had a really long end there. You might need it. You can use it for giving your character some eyelids. Okay, so we're gonna sew on the small tooth on the well, I guess left side, but right side to camera here. And I'm just gonna go in through the top of this lip, and then take the other end, thread that on, and go down through a different stitch. So here's the stitch I went in. I want to go down through the next stitch over right here. Okay, and you want to pull these through enough where that knot is popping through. See, there's the knot, and there's the second knot. Okay, and then now I can double knot it on there. And that's going to maintain that it stays on. I'm just going to double knot that tight. There we go. Cut it. Okay, so we got one tooth on. Let's do the other tooth on the other side. A little bit longer tooth. Or we could do both teeth on one side. That could be kind of fun. But now let's do it on the other side. Now you can see on this tooth there's a curve. And I want the curve to be facing inwards towards the middle of the face. So I'm going to thread the outside of the outside end first to make sure it's on the outside of the lip. Okay, I'm going to go on the other side of the lip here and just make sure these two ends are on different, are coming through different stitches. There you go. Next stitch right there. And just make sure those knots are popping on through. Sometimes that can be easier said than done. There, that's close enough. And we'll just double knot these two ends. Tight. There we go. We'll cut these. Boom. Now we got our tooth sewn on. This tooth was a little bit big because I couldn't get that other knot all the way through, which might make it look a little bit weird, but there we go. I'm just kind of like trying to poke it in there. Okay, that's good enough. All right, so we got our two teeth on, our lip on. Now let's sew on our nose in the center here. You want to start by taking the inside thread right here, threading that on the needle, and just going straight through the center. So let's like place this on where we feel we want our nose. Let's say like, let's make it, let's give it the nose a curve a little bit so we know how it's going to be sewn on. And let's say we want the nose right here. This is going to be the very center, is in the middle of that stitch. Just going to go ahead and pull that through, and this will keep us, you know, in location as we sew the nose on. Okay. And sewing the nose on is, you know, just sewing any piece on. You just gotta go down, hold it in position, pull this a little tighter, and go in through one stitch and out through the next on the body. That might be a weird, well, no, that'll work. Okay, so we got one, and then I want to go down through the stitches along the outside of the nose and just continue along sewing this on. This is how we're going to sew on every part of our piece, our nose, our ears. We're going to get awfully close to that lip too. We want his nose and his lip to be pretty close together. Or we could have went really high with the nose and made him look kind of a little snooty. Okay. Whoop. I hate sewing stuff together. It's my least favorite part of of creating amigurumi. It's just so annoying. I find. Okay, let's go through the next one. What do you think about sewing things on? Do you not mind it? If you let me know in those comments, I actually do read those. 1, 2. Let's say we got 1, 2, 3 more. We got 1, 2, 3 spots. Okay. So now since we only have 3 stitches left, we want to stuff the nose a little bit. We're going to take a little bit of stuffing. You don't need very much. That's probably good. And a good thing to use is a pencil, but you can also use a little stick like this. I just use a little skewer. And we're just going to stuff that nose up a little bit. We don't need it too stuffed, you know. You don't want him to be, talking like this. So you don't want to stuff him too much. Just enough. Like that might have been a little too much stuffing, to be completely honest. But, you know, whatever. He's gonna have a cold. All right, we'll keep going. And we just have a few more stitches here. 1, 2. So we're gonna go 1. Okay. There's our last one right here. We're gonna go pull through, and we want to double knot these two ends on the inside. Okay. All right. We can cut these two ends. All right, now before I sew on the ears, I'm going to be doing sewing the ears on off camera. But before I get to that, I want to show you how to add just some eyelids to give your character. I like putting eyelids on to give them a little bit more of a personality, you know, so he looks a little crazy or something. So I'm going to take a long end of this green yarn. So this is from our lip. And we're just going to thread it on the needle. And you want to come out through a stitch next to the eye. So I'm actually going to go down, straight down through it. If you look at the top here, here is the stitch next to the eye. There's a little piece right there. And you want to go, I like to go right into that. Okay, so you can see, just into that piece right there. Okay, so that's one end. And then I'm going to thread the other side. And I'm going to go across the eye and do the same thing on the other side, right into that stitch right there. Like we're doing eye surgery here. And depends if you want it on the top or the bottom. Top will give him more of an angry look. Bottom will give him more of a tired or maybe like happy or crazy look. I like the bottom more. So let's do the bottom. You could do both too. You could do another one just for a little bit more. And then we're just going to double knot these. Okay, we'll cut the end here. And we could add another eyelid on the other side. I might go ahead and do that. But I'm gonna sew on the ears now off camera because you don't need to see how I sew the ears on. The only difference between sewing the ears and the nose on is that when you sew on the ears, make sure that the ear is flat. Okay, so it's flat like that. Okay, so when you sew it on, you don't need to stuff the ears at all. We're gonna just sew the ears on to each side like that. Okay, so I'll go ahead and sew the ears on. I might add an eyelid. I might just leave him with a full eye on this side. And I'll be back in just a second. Okay, so I have our ears sewn on and our face all made up. Now we can continue on the birdie. Not the body, but the birdie. Okay. All right, so we're on round 11. For round 11, we're going to be doing increases in very specific spots. So we're going to start by single crocheting 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and here is 9. And then we'll do an increase in the next. Okay. Now we'll do 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and then another increase. Okay. Then another 3 single crochets. 2, 3, and then another increase. So it's 3 increases total. Okay. All right, and you can see how it's going to start coming out now so that he can get him a little bit of a belly. All right, and to finish up this round, we're going to do 12 single crochets to get to the end of the round. And for this round, you should have 33 stitches around once we get to the end. Get that out of the way. Okay. All right. And that's going to be the end of round 11. So for rounds 12, 13, and 14, that's 3 rounds total, 12, 13, 14, you're going to do a single crochet into each stitch all the way around, and that's going to be 33 single crochets total. So do 33 single crochets for 3 rounds in a row. Okay, that's going to be the last stitch in our 3 rounds of repeats. We just finished up round 14. For round, oops, got my yarn on the wrong side here. There we go. For round 15, we're going to be doing decreases where we had put our increases in prior. So we're going to do 9 single crochets. 3, 4, 5. We're bringing in that stomach. All right, this one's going to be 9. And now we want to do an invisible decrease. For an invisible decrease, you remember, we're going to go into the 2 front loops, 1 and 2, and then we're going to do a single crochet into those 2 front loops. Okay, so 9 single crochets, invisible decrease. Then we're going to do 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, and an invisible decrease. Okay, and then 3 more, 1, 2, 3, and then another invisible decrease. That's going to be the last invisible decrease in this round. Okay, you can see it's just, we're basically doing the opposite of the previous round. After that invisible decrease, you want to do 12 single crochets to get to the end of our round here. Okay. Whoop. All right, 2 more, 1 and 2, and that's going to be the end of round 15. You can see how we got our little belly going. Little belly. Well, it looks great when you look at it from the side. Okay, so now we want to sew on our arms. We want to have 2 arms here. And a tricky thing you can do with to sew on the arms is if you take a pipe cleaner, this is actually half of a pipe cleaner, I've already cut it in half, and you fold half of a pipe cleaner in half, and you cut that in half, so you have 2 quarters of pipe cleaners. We can fold this quarter in half and just start twisting it up. And basically we're going to create a skeleton for the arm so that we can like mold it in any shape or position we want it to be in. So first we want to decide where we want the arms. Let's grab one of our arms right now. We're going to go ahead and have it on the side. I always like putting them on the side so that they're like kind of facing down like that. Another way you could do is like this, like sideways. Maybe you could put like a goblet or some kind of like wine or something in his hand. It could be kind of fun. But we're just going to have it face down like this. I like it pretty much directly under the ears. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our quarter pipe cleaner. Go right back to where we were. Right like there. Yeah, that looks... that might be too far over. Let's go just a little bit in, like right... yeah, let's go like right there. Right, like between the ears and the lip. That sounds like a pretty good spot. We're going to go around that stitch. So we're going to take our quarter pipe cleaner, we're going to put it in there, and we're just going to... you see how both of those ends went through 2 different stitches here. And if we twist them on the inside, we can lock it in so it won't come apart, and keep them open like that. Okay, and now we'll have like a little skeleton for an arm, and we'll sew the arm on over this skeleton, and then that way we can make it shapeable. So sewing the arm on is just like sewing the body or the ears and whatnot on. We'll go ahead and thread the inside for our arm here, and we'll go basically right where this goes. This pipe cleaner is. That's the center of the arm, so we want to go ahead and thread that right there on the center, and we'll just begin sewing this arm around, and we'll stuff it before it's completely sewn on. So let's go ahead and do it like, just hold it into place, pull it tighter. We're going to start right there. And we're just going to do it exactly how we did the ears. We're just going to keep going in and down through the stitch on the around the arm and into the body. And we're just going to keep it the same kind of way we sewed on the ears. So I'm going to go ahead and do these, sew both these arms on off camera. And I'll be back in just a second. Don't forget to stuff the arms. That is an important thing to do. Okay, so we got our arms sewn on. Now let's continue crocheting our birdie. All right, so we are on round 16. For round 16, we are going to do 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to do an invisible decrease. So 3 single crochets and an invisible decrease. Okay, and we'll repeat that 6 times total. So let's do it again. We'll do 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and an invisible decrease. And this will bring you down from 30 stitches to 24 stitches. So by the end of this round, you should have 24 stitches around. So that's 1, 2, 3. Okay. And you'll see we're just going to keep on decreasing down in the next few rounds as well. And I actually am going to end up sewing, I think I'm going to end up sewing this guy together before I sew on the feet, which is what I do on the ogre as well. I don't know why, I think I kind of find it easier to find the exact place that I want to sew on the feet. The great thing with the feet for this little guy is that you don't need to put pipe cleaners in his feet, because you don't really need to shape the feet. I mean, you can if you want, but you don't have to. All right, so that's going to be the end of that round. For round 17, we're going to do 2 single crochets. 1, 2, and then our invisible decreases. Okay. All right. Let's try that invisible decrease one more time. There we go. And we'll repeat that 6 times total. So let's do it again. 2 single crochets. 1, 2, and then our invisible decrease. And this is going to bring you down from 24 stitches to 18 stitches. By the end of this round, you should have 18 stitches. Okay. All right. Okay. Now, before I continue on, a couple things. One is you might want to add some details now. I actually have a video showing how to add details like rings, warts, scars. There should be a link in the description below to that. You'll need to have purchased the entire Goblinoid pattern bundle or be a Club Crochet member in order to access that. And also, before you continue on, stuff it just a little bit. You don't need to stuff them a lot right now, just a little bit, because it's going to be easier to stuff it like as we go further and further down than it will be to stuff it after this hole is too closed and it's hard to get in there. All right, let's continue on. We are, oopsies, I undid a few stitches, so let's redo those stitches. Looks like I undid a single crochet and our last invisible decrease there. Okay. All right, so we are on round 18. For round 18, we're going to do just one single crochet and then our invisible decrease. Okay, and you'll repeat that 6 times total. One single crochet, invisible decrease. And that's going to bring you down from 18 stitches to 12 stitches around. Yeah, so you can see it's getting very small. Very small. Okay. One single crochet, invisible decrease. Oopsies. All right. And that's going to be the end of round 18. I'm going to open it up just a little bit, stuff it a little bit more. Again, it's going to be easier to stuff it now than it will be in after the next round. You can also add some final details. Usually I add a belly button, so we can go ahead and do that really quick. I just take a little bit extra of our green yarn here, and I like to do a belly button right in the center of his tummy. So right like there. Yeah. Okay, I come out, and I'm just basically sewing on an X. You know, just embroidering on a little X like that. You can do it twice if you want, really point it out a little bit more. I like to just have a nice subtle belly button like that. See? Pull a little bit tighter. But yeah, just a little belly button. It's hard to notice. It's kind of like, I like to think of it like kind of like a little signature. Like I'm saying, hey, this is made by me. I don't know. Just a weird, I guess it's just a weird thing I do. And we'll stuff the edge in here instead of cutting it, because why not? Who cares? Who cares? So what? No big deal. I'm going to make that belly button just a little bit more obvious by pulling it out a little bit. Yeah. All right. There we go. I mean, you can barely even notice it, but, you know, it's there. Okay. Now let's continue on. This is going to be the last round of crochets for the body. And we're just going to do a sharp decrease in each stitch around. For a sharp decrease, we're going to go into the next stitch and pull a loop through. Then go into the next stitch after that, pull another loop through, pull that second loop through the 2 on the hook. Boom. Okay, and we're going to repeat that 6 times total. So let's do it again. 1, and then 2, and then pull that second one all the way through. Okay, this is going to bring you down from 12 stitches down to 6 stitches. You should do 6 of these decreases. So there's 3, 4, 5, and one last one right here. is swoop 6. Okay, we'll cut the yarn. We're just going to pull it all the way through. And we want to stuff it as much as we feel is necessary now. Again, I don't really have a pencil near me, which is a goof. I did this on the last video as well. So I'm using a glue stick here to stuff it in, which I think is kind of funny. And you don't want to stuff him too much, you know, you just need enough stuffing so that he's not like loose. Oh, I see a pencil. One second, let me grab that pencil. There we go. I just find it a little bit easier to stuff him with a pencil. Also, it's easier, you saw I just ripped that stuffing up a little bit, and the reason is it's easier to do it in small chunks of stuffing than it is one large thing of stuffing. It gets kind of like knotted in a weird way. Okay, let's see how we're feeling. He's still a little squishy. Let's add a little bit more. A little bit more stuffing. I just don't want him to be, I want him to be dense. At least somewhat dense so that he'll sit up and maybe he'll be full. He won't eat everything around the house, you know. I don't want him to be hungry. Oh, dumb. Okay. All right, so that I feel is stuffed enough. Now we can just sew it closed. And if you haven't watched my video for sewing it closed yet, I count up 3 stitches from where the end is. So there, I count this the 0 stitch. So 1, 2, 3, and come out through the 0. And then I kind of just do an asterisk by going across to the next stitch, and then down and across through like that. And I have a video all about this on Club Crochet, showing how I stuff things together, sew things closed. Okay. There we go. And I'm just going to come out anywhere on the back. And then I'm going to come back down and go down through the bottom to kind of knot the end, like so. We can cut it right at the end there. And the next thing we want to do is he needs his legs. He's legless. Ah! So let's sew on some legs. He's legless. Ha 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 ha. Dumb. Okay, so first I want to sew on this middle of the leg here. And I want to decide where I want the foot. I think I want it like right like this. I like having him like sitting like that. You can also sew it right on the bottom like this to make him standing up. He might have a hard time standing up though, so you might need like a kickstand or something. That's why I like making him sit down like that. So let's say like right like that. Yeah, that feels right. Okay, we're gonna go right through the middle right there. And the trick for sewing stuff on when he's already sewn closed is you want to come out somewhere close. So let's go like right there. Looks pretty good. And keep this end here, and then when you sew it all the way up, you come out through the same spot and tie it, double knot it together. So you just double knot it like that. So first we'll just, I guess I'll just sew it together really fast, as quick as I can here. So I can just show you. And again, do not forget to stuff the legs. I have done that before, and I always regret it. Because it's really hard to take the legs back off, you know, and sew it back on. Oopsies. Well, I'll just get to the end here, and then I'll show you how to double knot it. Okay, so here's the end. This is the last last stitch I'm sewing on, and you can see I'm coming out through the same place where it came out the tail. Okay, and I've stuffed the foot. It's all good to go. Now I just need to double knot it on the inside right here. Or I mean, not on the inside, on the outside. Double knot. I just came out through the same exact stitch to do this, and then tied it tight. I cut the end, and then you want to use the back of your needle to just stuff in that little excess end there. And there you go. That's how you sew on pieces that are when these already sewn together. So I'm going to go ahead and sew on our other foot, and we can finish up the piece by making a little loincloth for our guy. Okay, so the last thing we want to do is add a loincloth for his body so that he can cover himself up a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our brown yarn. We need brown yarn for this. And we want a long end for the beginning. So that's pretty good, like that. And we want to make a slip knot. Okay. And we'll start by chaining 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to skip that first chain right there, and we're going to single crochet into the next 3. 1. Oop, need a little bit extra yarn. 2 and 3. Okay. Now we want to chain 1 and turn. This is for row 2. We want to skip our first chain right there, and we want to single crochet into the next 2, but we're only working in the back loops only. See? Okay, so let me take that out again. Do that again. We're only going to work into the back loops, meaning the loops furthest away from us, right there. Okay, so we want to single crochet 1 and 2. We're going to stop 1 early. Okay? All right, so that's going to be the end of row 2. For row 3, we're going to chain 3. 1, oops. Let's do that again. 1, 2, and 3, and we're going to turn. We'll skip our first chain and single crochet into the next 2 chains. 1 and 2. Now working into the back loops only, we want to single crochet into the next 2. 1, oops, and 2. Okay? All right, so that's going to be the end of row 3. For row 4, we're going to chain 1 and turn. We're going to skip our chain, and we're just going to work a single crochet into the back loops only of the next 4 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay? All right, for row 5, our final row here, we want to turn. We don't need to chain. Don't chain at all. Skip our first stitch and work a single crochet into the next 3. So 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now the last part that we want to do here is we want to make a band that fits around his outside. So I have written down chain 18. That depends on how tightly you're chaining and how much you stuffed your character. So let's chain 18 and see how close we get. We might need to add more. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. And now let's measure this. Let's place the loincloth where we think we're going to want it, which is right there. Let's go around our body. See, look. Looks like we need about like 8 more, maybe 6 to 8 more chains. So let's try 6 more, because I have stuffed it quite a lot. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. That's going to be 24. Now let's measure it one more time. Okay, go around the back. And that looks pretty good. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I'm going to chain just one more just to make sure to close that gap right there, but that'll be it. So we'll just chain one more. Oops. There we go. And we're going to cut, we're going to want a long end. We're going to cut the end here and just pull it all the way through. Okay. Now we want to thread this end, the end from this side, onto our darning needle. There we go. And we're just going to place our loincloth where we want it, right there. And we're going to take this end and sew it on right to the right of our foot, right there. And we want to come out through the back side, like right there. Okay, just right in the back. Okay. Now we want to take this other side, and we want to go around the back. And thread it on our needle. And we want to go into this hole right here at the end of our loincloth and into the same hole that we went into for the other side. And we want to come out just slightly under where we came out last time, like right there. Okay? And you want to pull it so that it goes almost all the way through. Okay. Maybe just a little bit more. There we go. Looks pretty good. Okay. And to finish this up, we want to tie this together around this chain. So we're just going to double knot it around the chain. One. Don't want to double knot it too tight. That might have been a little tight. There we go. One and two. And then we can cut these two ends. And there we go. We got our loincloth on. Let's like just tweak it a little bit so that it looks right. Okay. And there is, sorry, it's just a little bit, it looks like it's pulled in just a little bit right there. So let's just, I'm just going to kind of pull it out a little bit. There we go. Oh, sorry. Okay. And that is how you're going to sew on your loincloth, and that's going to be how you create a hobgoblin. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure to like it down below and subscribe for other videos. You can also become a Club Crochet member at clubcrochet.com, and you get access to a bunch of these patterns, and each one has a video just like this. To find more goblin patterns like this one, go to clubcrochet.com/goblinoid. Thanks again for watching. Pasta la pizza. And happy hooking. Boink, boink, boink.